This Riley Gaines video, I think, is really interesting.
We've been married almost 3 years now. We're coming up on 3 years. So you would think he is well on his way to achieving his citizenship, or at least having his green card, right? No, wrong. But this is what they do. This is what they do to people who do it the right way. And for all you people who say, oh, Riley, your husband's here illegally, he should be deported.
Riley Gaines is sort of the queen of transphobia. First off, dude, she looks so plastic. She is so caked on with the makeup and the fucking eyebrows and shit. This is just sort of the typical MAGA. I don't know what it is about the MAGA women, and I don't want to judge them because I understand women live with very different pressures for how they look and how they present themselves. It's very hard. Like, it's difficult being a woman in this world. But one thing I've noticed about the MAGA women is they tend to be real judgmental and sort of ferociously anti whatever crusade they're trying to fight. They're heavy into crosses, but they are all about just caked on makeup and Botox and lip filler and the manicured eyebrows. Like, you will never find as much gender affirming care in a human being as you will in a transphobe. But so now Riley's in an interesting situation here because her husband is an immigrant, but he's a white one. He's not an immigrant of color. So the white immigrants, they have a very different experience here in America. We ourselves saw Donald Trump, the Canadian border.
Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like.
Oh, you see that? You get away from that artificially drawn line. So up on the north, where we have a huge border, our border with Canada is much bigger than the Mexican border. But on the north, where there's Canada, where the people are white, where the people are European, Donald Trump calls that border this arbitrary imaginary line that he's willing to just poof, forego. Who needs it? Right? But on the southern border, where the people on the other side of the border are brown, then it's like, whoa. Now, all of a sudden, the border and the line becomes really, really important. Now, this is the inherent racism of this right-wing ideal. Now, what's fascinating about this is Riley Gaines is now having an issue with immigration about her husband.
Just got another letter from Immigration Services. I've made a video about this before, but I'm a U.S. citizen, born and raised in Tennessee, went to college at University of Kentucky, met my husband there. He's an immigrant. He moved over to the U.S. for college on an athletic scholarship from England. We've been married almost 3 years now. We're coming up on 3 years. So you would think he is well on his way to achieving his citizenship, or at least having his green card, right? No, wrong. And why can't he get his green card? Because his medical records aren't complete. And what is missing from his medical...
What is missing from the medical records? Something the right-wingers don't like.
Missing from his medical record? The COVID vaccine. Like, it is the year 2025, and we are still requiring the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, that's because many people are still dying from the COVID virus. And many people are still suffering long-term care, having the long COVID version of that virus. But, you know, vaccines, nations require vaccines. You can't go to Europe. You couldn't go to his beloved home country of the UK without getting some vaccines. You can't go to many places without getting a host of vaccines.
It is the year 2025, and we are still requiring the COVID vaccine. You can see it right here. It's backwards. Disregard. Complete the COVID-19 vaccine. But this is what they do. This is what they do to people who do it the right way. I can't even tell you how much money.
This is what they do, right? They. It's all, they love that pronoun. God damn, the right wingers, they're like, they. This is what they do. Yeah, she is a bitch. Dude, she's a transphobic bitch. Now, as long as we're talking about this woman, let's just point something out here. We're going to disseminate Riley Gaines here, because Riley Gaines, who has made it her life's mission to hound and harass and attack every transgender human being in America to try and make it so they can't go to the bathroom, so they can't get therapy, so they can't get health care, so they can't have a job. She attacks the one who got elected to Congress, for Christ's sake. But the minute her husband needs to get a vaccine, like the rest of the fucking world, she is ready to melt. She is ready to fall apart. She doesn't like that they're forced to get a vaccine, but she'll forcibly detrans one of her fellow human beings because she has decided that that transgender person doesn't have a right to existence. Now, another thing we should point out is Riley Gaines here has made it a crusade to attack transgender people. But while Riley Gaines was swimming at the University of Kentucky, her coach was running her teammates. Her coach was actively running her swim teammates while she was in college. She never did anything about it. She found out about it, commented about it once. It has never been a part of her, protection of women to protect women from predatory coaches at universities or in high schools or wherever. It has only been to attack trans people who have never harmed her in any way. One trans woman got a 4th place and got a trophy ahead of her in a meet, but she's never lost a 1st place to a trans woman. She's never had an issue with that. But she was upset that a trans woman used the locker room because I guess there was an appendage there. But she was more upset by an appendage of a trans woman in a locker room than she was about her actual swim coach all her fucking teammates. And that's very telling, okay? Because her crusade doesn't add up. But now, on a deeper level, let's listen to some of her complaints, because she makes the complaint about the COVID vaccine, but watch what else we got.
Thousands of dollars we have spent on the different forms and applications and immigration lawyers and all of the different things, all for everything to expire on their time anyways. And for all you people who say, oh, Riley, your husband's here illegally, he should be deported. Just so you don't understand immigration, he is very much here legally. There are other ways to obtain residency than a green card, like visas or advanced parole. Or those of you who say, this is what you get when you voted for Donald Trump. Obviously, my husband can't vote, but if he could, he would have voted for Donald Trump. Change is coming with the current administration, but he has to undo everything that the former administration has done to our immigration system, both legally and illegally. Oh, and when they campaigned on the tagline, my body, my choice, this is proof they never really meant that.
She is just a hideous fucking troll. But let's unpack this, because as much as I can't stand her, I actually want to give her the benefit of the doubt for something. And one of the things that she pointed out that I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt, and you only get this once, Riley, because you are just a hideous fucking bitch. But you ready? So the one thing I'm going to give Riley a tiniest bit of credit for is the fact that she pointed out that our legal immigration system is ridiculous. There's a bunch of forms, there's a bunch of hoops, there's a bunch of money required, there's a lot of rigmarole. They don't make it easy. They make it take years and years and years of money and paperwork and all this. They discourage people from becoming active legal immigrants. They discourage it by the process being something that 90% of people won't have the wherewithal to do. So the greater point here is the fact that the powers that be, especially big Republican government, they don't want to fix the problem. They have generated a scenario that makes it really hard and really complex for people to acquire legal citizenship. So most people won't do it because they're impoverished. They don't speak the language. They don't have access to high-priced lawyers. The only people that can afford to go through that are the white people or people immigrating from countries with money. Other than that, most people won't go through that process. So they end up being not legal. And then they're exploitable in the work system. They can get paid lower wages, or they can get threatened with deportation, or you got to show up. I'm giving you extra hours, no work breaks, no lunch break, but you can't say anything because we'll deport you. So you get a more docile, enslaved-like workforce that works for less money and doesn't get any resources in return. They have no power. And this is all encouraged, but they don't want to fix the system because every 4 years, the Republicans try to run a campaign based on a fear campaign generated around that system. So we have a broken immigration system that doesn't move immigrants from illegal to legal, and then that encourages them into our workforce as illegal, where they can then be threatened and exploited. And every 4 years, the Republicans can capitalize and try to acquire political power. The whole thing is a con. The whole thing is a fucking scam. And it's been this way for a long time. I'm 55 years old. I have watched every Republican candidate use immigration. So the thing that's really interesting is yes, Riley, on the one hand, we're actually glad this is happening to you. It couldn't happen to a bigger bitch. What is up, guys? Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, you want to support independent resistance media, you know what to do. Drop that sub, hit the like button, and please share it. And we do love our members, so if you want to become a member, it's another really great way to support. Thanks again for everything, guys. I'll see you next time. Let's go.